All right, so I want to talk for a few minutes about um, the fundamental concepts of day trading and how they relate to my favorite trading strategy. So, first of all, what are we looking for when we're day trading? We're looking for stocks that are going to move quickly in the direction that we anticipate so we can lock in quick profits with big percentage gains. I mean, that's the ideal scenario. So, how do we find that sort of setup? What I look for each day in the morning, I scan for the gappers, stocks that are gapping up or down from news overnight. Those are almost always going to be trading on above average volume when they open. So typically they're going to set up for some really big moves. And they're not all going to move, but usually within that list of gappers, we have a few big movers. So those are the stocks that I'm instantly going to focus on in the morning. Um, in the afternoon, I'll focus on the big percentage gainers of the morning and see if they set up for an afternoon breakout or breakdown. And I'll also focus on any breaking news that breaks out in the middle of the day, because that can send a stock, into heavy volume. So the setups that I look for, I'm going to start with gappers, then big percentage movers, and then news and PR. Okay, so I know I'm looking for stocks that are within those categories. Okay, so I can scan for the gappers, the big percentage movers, and I can scan for news. But how do I find an entry, especially on something that's gapping up 20% or more? Okay, so this is where the chart patterns come into play. So for the gappers, trading really in the first hour to 2 hours of the day, I'm going to look to get in on the first pullback. What I really want to see is a nice bull flag formation. So we've got SGMO here, and this is a really nice pattern, and they're not always going to be picture perfect, so I'll go over a few others, but let's start with this one because it is a really nice pattern. Okay, so we've got the gap up. So instantly this is going to be something that I watched on my scanner. I've only got a few items on here and I'm going to sort by the heaviest volume. And this was gapping with pretty heavy volume first thing. Alright, so I'm not going to chase it right out of the gates. I'm going to give it a few minutes to just sort of figure out what's happening. So we get a few candles here moving up very quickly. And then we start to get a little bit of pullback. We get that doji here, and then we get two red candles, and we're back on the VWAP. So this is where I'm going to think, okay, we've got heavy volume on the ramp up, heavy volume here, here, and here, lighter volume on the sell-off. So this to me indicates profit taking versus shorts piling in. Now if you see the selling volume here much heavier than the buying volume, then that's going to indicate that this is going to go down. So volume is also very key in determining how this chart pattern is going to play out. So what I do when I'm entering a bull flag, what I usually am going to do is enter when a green candle breaks the high of the previous red candle. Now in this particular setup, we're right on the VWAP support, so this also has really nice support right here, but that's not always going to happen. Sometimes we're going to get this pullback and we'll still be way above the VWAP. But in this case, we're right here at the VWAP. So I'm going to buy on this green candle here as it breaks the high of the red candle. So the high was 1620. So an entry here would be 1621. It needs to break the high. That's your entry. Now immediately my stop is the low of the red candle. This is the trigger candle. This is the candle that I entered on, and it's the candle I'm going to use as my exit. I'm going to stop out at 1605 if the low breaks. Now, because this is the way I enter, and this is the way a lot of traders enter, breaking the high of the previous candle or breaking the low of the previous candle, this is also a critical area where anyone that did decide to short this coming down here is going to say, okay, if this green candle breaks the high of the previous one, I'm out. And then you start getting some short cover. So what you'd like to see ideally is these green candles here to be higher volume than the red candles during the pullback. Now in this case we don't have that. We do, however, have steady upward momentum. So we come up to the high of the day and we break it. Now at this point, once I'm a few minutes into a position and I have profit, I'm going to adjust my stop. I may sell some of my shares as I'm in profit and start scaling out, but I'm going to adjust my stop. Now my stop, if I'm going to trade with a tight stop, I'm going to sell when this green candle, when a red candle breaks the low of the previous green candle. So I would sell right here. And the low of this candle was 1665. So 1664, that's the exit. So right there you've got over 40 cents of profit, right in that movement. And these are trades that are very, very consistent, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit them hard. These are trades that I want to take 5, 10,000, 15,000 shares, because more often than not the bull flag is going to break in the direction of the trend, especially when you have this nice volume pattern. You've got big volume on the ramp up, light volume on the pullback. We're down at support. I've got a relatively tight stop on this, 15 cents. That's pretty tight. So I'm going to risk $1,500 on this. My target for this is going to be not only hitting high of day, it's going to be breaking to new highs. And that's exactly what we get. So this could have been a really nice trade. Now, as the day progresses and you move forward in the trade, or as the stock is moving forward in the day, the bull flags are not always as powerful. I like to get in on the first or the second bull flag. Now this doesn't really have a second bull flag, not before noontime really. We get some pullback, but it's not exactly the perfect flag pattern. So I'm not sure that I would have really seen the best entry on this. I mean, you do have some patterns here, but now we're getting into different time frames. So we're just going to focus on what I think works best, which is trading the bull flags, trading the first flag of the day in the first hour of trading. Okay, so that's SGMO. That was a really solid trade. That's one I would go really heavy on and try to get a nice quick profit. And I'm going to focus this on the 1 minute chart. When we're trading in the first half hour, in the first hour of the day, I'm going to focus on the 1 minute chart. Yes, I have the 5 minute chart here, but my focus is the 1 minute chart. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. Let's see. CNAT. I want to zoom ahead to Friday. Okay, so this is a flag that's not quite as pretty, which is why it's good to look over these, because they're not always going to be picture perfect. Okay, so on this one, our first candle here is we've got a red candle. So instantly we know we've got profit taking. We pop up and then we get some sell-off. And the sell-off here on this candle is actually pretty heavy compared to the buying. So this, to me, even though it's a gapper, even though it's a nice setup, this would make me very hesitant on this first flag to get in. And this green candle here does not break the high of the previous candle. Because this red candle was so big, this one can't break that high. So this one I would keep watching, but I wouldn't enter it here. Okay, so you let it play out. Again, we get a little bit of a pop, a little bit of pullback. Right now, this is just not setting up quite yet. Okay, so I'm going to keep this on watch, and what I'm going to look for is ultimately a break to new highs. So this, my trend line resistance here is right like that, but then we've got, draw this trend line here. This is resistance on the morning, and then we've got support on the morning. So what I'm going to look for ultimately is a potential entry off good support. So as we start getting closer to the VWAP and we start getting above the VWAP, we can see that we're testing the new highs. So we come up here, the high is 13.49. Here, high here is 13.51. So we're starting to test the new highs. And what we ultimately want to look for is heavy volume to come in. So on a trade like this, when we don't have the really clear flag pattern, what I would instead wait for is I would wait to see new highs on heavy buying volume. And the high on this is 1370. High on this is 14. So this is where I would start to look. Now we do have some heavy volume here, but we're not hitting new highs. I want to see 1371 print. So not 1370, I need to see 71. I need to see a new high of day print. Now this is the type of flag pattern. Now with a bull flag we get the nice pop, a little bit of pullback, and then we go again. So on a bull flag we can buy on the resistance of the flag trend line. So that would be buying basically when this trend line here is broken. This didn't form a good setup because we had heavier volume here on the sell side. So what we instead focus on is, okay, this is still on our gapper list, so we'll do the flat top. That's where I'm going to look for potential volume to come in. So if we draw our trend line down just a little bit, I know that the break of the trend line is significant, but what I really want to see is a new high of day, 1371, that print, and that's my entry. It's a new high of day. We've got this ascending support. It's a little bit of an ascending wedge here. That's your entry. And you can see clearly a lot of other people are watching this because boom, look at that follow through. So this is what I'm talking about, trading stocks that are trading on heavy volume. A lot of traders are watching it, a lot of professional traders that know what they're doing. And this is where the buying comes in. So if you can get to know these chart patterns, you can start to join in on some of these big moves. And again, this is one that I would trade heavy, with a heavy position, but I would be a little bit more conservative because my stop is going to be a little further away. So the flat top, it's a good setup. It's not quite as good as a tight bull flag the way we saw in SGMO, but this is also a really good setup. Okay, so let's look at a few others. Okay, Fram, this was a gap run Friday. Got the nice bull flag here. Okay, so we've got our trend line, that's support. So first thing we get in the morning, we get this nice pop. All right, then we start to get a little bit of sell-off, but look, the volume is light. It's not heavy volume the way we saw on CNAT. See how we got these heavier volume bars? This is not as pretty looking. Fran, this looks nice. We're still green on the day. We haven't broken the open price. Okay, so we get a little bit of pullback. It's light volume. This is nice and clean. This is orderly. This green candle here breaking the high of the previous candle. The high was 2098. 2099, that's the entry. Heavy volume coming in, you can see that. You can see other people are watching this. Heavy volume comes in and you blast up to almost 2150. Again, my exit indicator is a red candle breaking the low of the previous green candle. That's going to be right here. Now the low of this candle was 2130. So 2129, as that 30 breaks, that's my exit. So even if that's only 30 cents on this particular setup, in most cases I'm going to sell into profit. So I'm going to take profit along the way, and I'm going to bail on my final position when that level of support breaks. Now this is using a 1 minute stop, because I'm using this is actually a 2 minute chart, but what I would typically use is a 1 minute chart. I'm using 2 minute on this so I can scroll back a little bit further. But let's say, okay, this is a 2 minute stop. Now if you want to be more aggressive in your position, you can start using a 5 minute stop, and you won't stop until a candle breaks the low of the 5 minute candle. The problem with that is that you have to go a little bit lighter because you've got a bigger range on the 5 minute chart. These 5 minute candles have big range, so taking 5,000 shares is going to be too much swing. So this I'm going to go in heavy, and I'm going to probably jump right out. Most of my trades are quick. So this right here is a really good one, and this is the type of setup that I look for again and again and again. So each morning I'm going to call these out in the chat room. I'm going to say I'm looking at the gappers. These are the gappers I'm looking at. We've got Fran, we've got CNAT, we've got SGMO, and I'm just going to watch all of them. I usually keep 3 or 4 on a separate chart, and I just watch them really closely, and as soon as I start to see that flag pattern, I'm going to go in heavy, and I'm going to let you guys know. You're going to know in the chat room that I'm watching this, I'm watching it closely, and this is the entry I'm looking for. So hopefully that helps. Send me a message if you have any questions.